Bro. I think it's dead.
Days Gone is an upcoming zombie survival action adventure due out on the PlayStation 4 in 2019 sometime. Isn't that right? Gareth Evans and Jake Kulkowski, who's sitting right here with me.
Absolutely right, Mike Williams.
Yes, it is.
So still a ways off. In development at Sony Bend Studios. Best known as the people who made the Siphon Filter franchise and like portable versions of some other big Sony properties like Resistance and Uncharted. So we've seen some gameplay of it in action a while ago. We've got a decent grasp of what the core premise is, but this week Game Informer has just completely blown the lid off it, I guess. They've got like a month-long exclusive reveal thing going on. It's their covered game for the month of June. They've been running multiple features based on interviews with devs and gameplay on their website already. And we've also seen the first full hour of the game with commentary from creative director John Garvin. So it is a lot of stuff, isn't it, guys?
It's a load of stuff, and it's exactly what we wanted to see. Some gameplay, some actually nitty-gritty, how the world works, how the systems work all together. We've just had snapshots in the past, but we could only surmise what the game is going to be like. We can feel what the game is going to be like now, which is great.
Yeah, we had a proper good look at how it's running and stuff. So before we get into the details, I'll just give you some quick kind of overview type stuff because, like I said, director John Garvin, who, by the way, looks like a lovely bloke. I just want to put that on the record. He seems like a nice guy.
Nice guy.
I think he's quite a disarming dude.
Yeah, that's right.
He's a good guy
Seems
to
legit,
have an
doesn't
interview.
he?
Yeah. So here's some quotes that he said that I thought were pretty eye-catching anyway. He says, "We are not the zombie game you think we are," which is probably the first big hurdle facing the game because it's a zombie survival open world game. And that is kind of a line of questioning from Game Informer was kind of like, what are you doing this? It's been done. But he was like, well, I want to do it. I like zombies. So.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about yesterday a little bit when we saw that. It was like the first two questions we saw Game Informer asking were kind of like, well, why are you doing this? And don't you think that everyone else has played other games like this kind of thing? So it was like both times he had to answer in a way where he was justifying it. Yeah. So rather than seeing it in a bit more of like a, Peter Molyneux style thing where he's commanding the room and he's just basically just giving all of this pre-prepared
he's gifting the journalist.
This guy's immediately on the back foot defending himself. He doesn't get to be excited about the game. And then we've seen that open up a little bit more, haven't we, yesterday with the hour-long thing.
Exactly. He says he personally still loves the zombie genre. He's not fatigued by it. He's pretty much the lead writer. He's the main writer for the whole game, and he's completely in love with like the apocalypse type genre. He did add, however, that World War Z and I Am Legend were awesome movies. So I'll just put that out there. But he seems fascinated by the premise, and he loves a zombie movie. He says like he's read all the apocalypse books. He's seen all the zombie movies, and he's very much like a student of the genre. Yeah. So and he loves them all. Exactly.
He's probably also watched Sons of Anarchy. I'm just guessing.
He does allude to it, doesn't he? He says that the last season couldn't have been any worse or whatever.
He's definitely watched it. He's a huge fan.
So there you go. So he's the creative director, John Garvin, is kind of a big fan of the zombie genre. He seems to know very much what he's talking about, and he's kind of very enthusiastic about his game. But he's had to kind of bat off this thing of being, it's another zombie game, it's another open world game. So what have we learned in terms of actual stuff? Well, first of all, to get the main headline out of the way, there is a photo mode. So
wow, you're going to be happy, aren't you?
That is it.
Yeah, so that's a big selling point for me. It runs at 30 FPS, uses checkerboard rendering to achieve 4K on the PS4 Pro. Main story takes about 30 hours to finish. Pretty meaty game, right? Okay. That's a good.
The developer says 30 hours. Take 5 hours off it, and that's about right.
Yeah,
so it's about 25 real man hours.
But that's the story as well. That's not the.
There's normally a lot to do in these open world games as well, so you could probably double that. Do you know what I mean? If you want to do side quests and collectibles, so it at least looks like if you were paying £1 an hour, you'd get your money's worth. Yeah, it's a fair assumption, I reckon.
Can you see yourself playing this for 30 hours, guys?
I definitely can. I love the setting. I haven't seen the gameplay now. I can see what I can be doing, spending my time doing. I just love it. I just love the look of it. I guess if there's gameplay on the screen, you'll be able to see it yourselves. But it's just everything that appeals to me. It's the gritty nature of it. It's the interpersonal relationships as well. You've got to do things for people that you might even like, but out of necessity, you have to forge these relationships, and you might be spitting on people but have to do things for. And I like that grittiness.
Very story focused as well, and they've got like this binary Telltale game style choice system as well. Like, do you do this or do you do do that, which are like actual big button prompts on the screens at certain points. So in terms of actual kind of mechanics and stuff, there's customization in there. You can customize, the motorbike that you ride around the open world. That includes paint jobs, speed upgrades, changes to the muffler, the exhaust, so that to make it quieter because it's so loud, because you attract zombies.
That's right.
A lot of what he was talking about as well. Freakers, sorry, don't want to offend any creative directors out there. He seemed to talk a lot about like the open world being kind of all these types of danger out there, like you're constantly under threat, and that's what his big kind of selling point was, I guess, for when they were asking him, well, how come you're doing another open world? And he said, well, I think ours uniquely is that it doesn't matter what you're doing, you're always in danger of getting knocked off your bike by a kind of stray freaker.
And he says that in the gameplay, right? That it's like emergent, that it's not the same every time. You come up to a checkpoint or whatever, and there might be people there manning it, there might be a roadblock, and that's dynamic. Like, that's not always the same. And I think that's what he's alluding to there, the fact that you can go in different directions on the map and it might be different for every time you play through it. Yeah,
there's a lot of RPG type elements in there, a lot of collectibles, loot, kind of a progression type system. You've got inventory, crafting, type of crafting system that you seem to be a fan of, Gareth. It just kind of slows down, I guess.
Yeah, it's the Horizon Zero Dawn thing, right? It doesn't de-immerse you by giving you like an options menu or whatever. It keeps you in the fight, slows it down and allows you to craft what you need, and then speeds back up when you're finished, which is great. Immersion wise, for me, it's great.
It's
lovely,
like if
time ramp sort of thing that I think so. I think that's going to be standard for games soon, because it's really great. It doesn't stop the momentum at all, especially when you're playing a fast-paced game. You don't want to pause the game to make a medicate.
It's like if Neo used his skills in the Matrix as the one to like slowly sellotape a knife to a bit of a broom or something. And it's just like, which is probably not as exciting a
really
movie, but
the picture for me
mechanically, as a game mechanic, it works.
As a game,
the composer is Nathan Whitehead, by the way, who did the music for The Purge, no less. So that's pretty good. It's a bit of a coup. The currency in the game is kind of just the generic credits. There are massive metropolitan areas with I'm assuming other people that you could...
Yeah, well, in a big gameplay, the first hour, we saw like a little outpost, and that's apparently quite small compared to some of the bigger areas. And there was lots of NPCs walking around, and you had like a kitchen where you could get food, a place to put bounties in. There was a merchant, which is, I guess, just the shop. There was the mechanic. So there was lots of different shops, and there was altitude to the place. It wasn't just one flat outpost. There was like
verticality. I think that's
the word I'm looking for. Yeah, the guy lived atop this like cute little treehouse thing, and there was all these different NPCs. That was certainly like, it seems like you'll be going to that place, especially in the first couple of hours, a lot. And it doesn't look as barren as it you might have seen from the previous 40 odd minutes of gameplay over the past couple of years. You
can actually build up encampments in the game as well, so you can build up your little bases and stuff. There are dogs in the game, so that's good to know.
Infected or otherwise.
Infected or otherwise, there are actually zombie dogs, which or whatever, I don't know,
like wolves or bears or whatever. There's zombie wildlife, isn't there?
There's a word like runners or something like that. They're called. And then there are bears as well, which I think are called ravagers. Or something like that. So that's they've all got like some pretty poetic nicknames.
They've all got the
there's other like O's as well as like what would
there was a swarmers,
swarmers,
newts. It doesn't have an ER at the end. But here's something that might be interesting and maybe new to people that have just seen the previous gameplay. There is an enemy faction in the game that are human, not freakers, not swarmers, not undead. They're just a cult. They're part of the Rest in Peace cult. You might have seen the picture circulating on the internet of a bald guy, looks like Ewan McGregor, and he's got RIP in his head. Well, they're basically these guys that...
They're pretty wild.
Rippers.
Yeah, the Rippers, that's it, that's the Urs, that's it, Rippers, and they basically worship the Freakers. They think that what's happened to humanity is a blessing, really. Why they don't just let themselves be torn apart, I don't know, but they think that everyone that's been infected is transcended, and their job is to go around...
They're probably like Spartans, aren't they? Like, they want to die, but they want to go out
Like Valhalla.
Yeah, exactly. They want to earn it.
So you have an encounter with them in the first hour of the game, which you can see from the gameplay, where they have a blowtorch and they get up to some nasty shit.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty gnarly type situation all around with that kind of stuff, isn't it? They don't mind showing some.
Oh yeah, a lot of there's a few
like.
moments in that that hour, that's for sure, that you can be gritting your teeth at.
So a couple of other little bits that I noticed as well. There's different weather patterns that affect the gameplay. Again, this plays into this thing of it being a dangerous open world, because the different environment at the time can affect how things play out, because if it's raining or whatever, it has a different effect.
Again,
the noise and stuff is dynamic. Dynamic.
Yeah, they've done a great job of showing that off over the past 2 years, because E3, the first time they showed off something, it was like a sunny sawmill.
Yeah.
Then the next year they showed kind of a rainy, moody forest vibe, but then the press got to see a snowy area.
Yeah.
And then on this, you kind of see the day and night cycle. In that hour, you start off in the afternoon, and by the end of this hour-long thing, it's nighttime, and you see the dynamic system evolve, and it starts raining for a bit. Yeah. So they've done a really great job of showing that off.
Yeah. In terms of like story setup and stuff, it picks up several years after a pandemic has ravaged the
2 years to be precise.
There we go. And people infected by the virus are called infected by NERO, the National Emergency Response Organization. So that's a made-up zombie fighting thing that has kind of got these checkpoints or like quarantine zones and stuff, but they've obviously been overrun and abandoned because it's a zombie apocalypse. There's in the hour-long gameplay, you've got a mercenary kind of ally friend called Boozer.
That's right.
Who's so hard he's got tattoos instead of hair.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's a tough man.
The shackles of hair aren't tying
he's
Boozer
no longer
down,
tied down.
He's got tattoos. He looks like a biker because he is actually a biker.
I guess.
So
the plot is about surviving as well. It's not like this quest for a cure, or it's not like I Am Legend where it's about can you cure the illness. It's just about staying alive.
Yeah, a lot of it is about Deacon and his backstory as well, and I think
on a personal kind of level.
That's right. Yeah, he's gone through a lot of shit, and it shows. And that shows in the first hour. He's struggling to deal with what's happening to him, and he's obviously got his demons that he has to deal with. They've also talked about doing flashbacks as well and filling in some of the backstory for Deacon, which sounds pretty cool too. It lays a lot of groundwork for the character, and hopefully there's we see the full progression of the character and how it turns out in the end. And I think that's the main journey of the story, is Deacon and his troubles.
His fights with his demons. I'll read out some hammy dialogue if you want to give you a little bit of backstory. It's not your fault that she's dead. Drop it. Don't talk about Sarah again. So that's a little bit of a taster if you want to know what it's a kind of backstory about. Someone close to him has died in the past, and you find that out during a cutscene where he goes a bit like he really hates these freakers. Like he's like brutally kill them. Like they need a shotgun blast at the head to kill them, but he shoots one of their arms off, then the other arm off, then the chest, and then he's like, Boozer's like, you're gonna break my shotgun, Deacon, and stop it. And basically that's
he's having too much
fun.
I'm
gonna have to clean that again because of you. So there's that's the kind of setup, isn't it? It's that and biker type culture stuff, and is a big part of it.
Sort of
outlaw MC group they're called.
So it's got that like feeling of camaraderie, I guess. There's like this family but not by blood aesthetic, and the feeling throughout the game like what your brother's going to think of you, and the respect thing, and there's the tiers and there's the hierarchy, which are all things I don't think I've seen really explored in a game before. I don't think I can remember any game with a biker gang that weren't just a couple of like NPC dweebs that you kill straight away. So the fact that Sons of Anarchy is obviously going to be an influence. I think that's pretty cool.
A few more kind of mechanical type stuff. There are camps and stuff that you can clear and ambush them and stuff. You have to clear locations to unlock fast travel type stuff. In terms of weapons, you've got shotguns, sniper rifles, Molotov cocktails, pistols, LMGs, grenades, napalm, which is pretty handy against zombies, I suppose.
That's right.
And then there are bounties as well. You can collect, like you get to ears. Target specific, to get their ears. That's how you prove that you've taken them out. There's also like a Witcher 3 style survival vision. It's called
the Witcher Senses. We call
Witcher
it
Senses.
Arkham Knight detective mode.
There you go. Highlights items of interest and follows kind of paths on the ground and stuff. There's a stamina bar, health bar. Time can slow down as well, and all those are actually upgradable, so that's where the RPG type stuff comes in. There are radio towers that you can climb. There's no fetch quests. or time trials, so time trial, classic open world type stuff. Everything's got a bit of context again. That's kind of a Witcher 3 inspired type thing. Hordes are just randomly scattered around the world. A 300 strong horde is known as a baby horde.
Yeah.
So 300 zombies. So that is the kind of combat that we're talking about. It's not like, it's closer to like Dead Rising, I guess, but more aggressive because they're chasing you.
Yeah.
They're not just milling about.
Like the World War Z scene where they were running up the wall or whatever.
Exactly. They are coming at you.
And we saw that in the trailer. I think it was the original trailer where they're in that wood.
Apparently that was 500 zombies.
Yeah.
So you're what I've seen from when it's a big horde kind of combat, there are just stray zombies all the time, all over the place. But when it's a horde, you're kind of backtracking, you're kind of backpedaling, chucking Molotovs, trying to manage it while you find a way to escape because there's so many
the environment as well. If you can set off traps or whatever, to take them down.
And they've got their own kind of rules as well. They travel in packs. They need to eat, sleep, maintain themselves, I guess, because you need to maintain yourself if you're a zombie or a freaker. Sorry.
Well, they even eat each other if they need to maintain themselves. I've noticed there's like you can have like zombie on zombie crime, freaker on freaker crime. I noticed
it's a big problem.
There's a hierarchy thing like you saw in the gameplay thing. Newts, which are like they called them adolescent freakers, but they were kids. There's no way about it. There's no teenagers aren't that small, right? And they're these little scary things. And the swarmers, which are like the adult freakers, can just chomp on them, fight them, bat them away. They're not friends, is what I'm saying. They're not working. They're not in cahoots.
It's pretty traumatizing actually to see them just flying at you, and they are obviously kids, and they're just kind of
they're not like kids with wings or kids with like giant bug heads. They still look like human children.
Exactly. You kill or be killed. You know what I mean? If they're coming at you, I just
got to do it, haven't you?
If kids are going to kill me, you just got to do it.
There you go. This is what I mean.
Mercy.
This guy,
no mercy. Okay, so that's a lot of what I've got. Is there anything else that you guys noticed from the hour-long demo or anything that you want to talk about?
Yeah,
Jake,
what's notable for me and that stands out for me is the way that the story progressed. Right, there wasn't. The reasons for you having to do things seem natural. There was a part where you lose your bike, and it seems like it was salvaged by this gang, this group, and you've got to do missions for them in order to get it back. And that feels like a natural progression of the story. It's not like it's not forced. It doesn't feel manufactured. It feels like it would happen. It's realistic, and that's what appeals to me in the story and the way it's going to come out. And that's kind of what's got me excited for it.
There's a couple of things. Like a lot of it did seem paint by numbers mechanically, but it's the story that's going to set it apart. They don't have a difficulty mode. They want the game to be hard, right? And I like this quote. They say that they don't want an easy mode as it gives too much away for free. They want people to earn the story. Clear Dark Souls reference. That's a joke. That's a joke.
Oh God,
that's a little joke, guys. Please.
And there's a couple of things for me that it's kind of. I mean, the cutscenes, the way it cuts to black, but before you go back into the action. I'm used to God of War now. I'm used to going straight in, and it's like, hopefully they can iron some of that out to kind of
film Santa Monica. Get a couple of tips, isn't it?
Ask them how that's done. But other than that, it's looking very promising.
My only reservation is this too early? The game's out 2019. We're building all this hype now. Will people forget about that when Red Dead's out? When you've got E3 coming up, doing all this before it, then you've got the post E3 world. And then the game's out 2019. I just wonder if the timing of this is right. If this game came out
such a huge info dump.
Now there's nearly 2 hours of this game out there in the wild, and there's another month of Game Informer stuff to come. If the game was out next month, maximum hypes, and I would probably buy this if it was out next month. Sure. How I'll feel about it in February, March next year, I don't know. That's all I'm wondering.
It's kind of like the opposite of what they did with No Man's Sky, right? They released fuck all. There was no gameplay, there was nothing, not a lot of information, and it was Sony again, and then they released the game. Yeah. Whereas now it kind of feels like they want to do things a little bit different. They're releasing as much information as possible so people go in informed so they can't have that No Man's Sky effect.
So there you go. That's Days Gone. That's what we think is coming out Q1 2019. Still a ways to go, and there'll probably be lots more information on it over the coming month. Thanks to Game Informer's exclusive thing. Let us know what you think of it, what you've seen so far. All these little tidbits of information are starting to add up to a good picture of what the game is actually going to be. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. There should be another video on your screens right now if you want to watch that, and a link to Patreon if you want to support the channel. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.
You can track why they're doing the things that they're doing, and you can use it to your advantage in the gameplay. That's kind of what I like about this so much.